My eyes turned. And what did I see but a man who looked different from me? His skin was a different color. His clothes reeked of dried sweat. The sign in his hand said he had a bad debt. I thought I'm lazy. My opinion couldn't have been lower. I continued straight ahead, the ever-faithful church-goer. I edged around him, my shoulder cold, and no more thought about his story left untold. It was a beautiful Saturday afternoon. I was on my way to this conference, not unlike this one, to hear a lead speaker talk about how to better help others. So as I made my way down to my seat, the lights dimmed. It came time for the lead speaker, except it was two men that came on the stage. The first being the lead speaker, the second being the lazy homeless man outside. You see, turns out the second man wasn't homeless at all, but instead had used a social experiment to tell a story about how quick we are to dismiss a person because of their cultural identity. Just like I had dismissed him on my way to learn how to better help others. And I know what you must be thinking about me. What a great guy. He deserves a Nobel Peace Prize, right? Well, alas, I'm still waiting on that prize, but I can still remember the way my ears burned with my shame. And it was a healthy shame. There's a lesson in humility I will never forget. And I think it's a lack of humility that is causing so many cultural divides today. Our founding fathers once stated, "We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal." Yet our American society today is full of power imbalances and inequalities, where we the people are failing to grasp the simple truth that another person's story is just as real and meaningful as our own. This isn't just true in the United States, but all over the world, where we are literally killing ourselves because we don't know how to positively engage with someone culturally different than us. I offer that the cure isn't necessarily more knowledge of culture or being an expert in culture, but the cure for our tendency towards cultural superiority is cultural humility. Cultural humility is a growing and promising field of research because it isn't about my story. It's not even about your story, but it's an other-oriented stance that makes it our story. So research has identified 3 things that help foster cultural humility. The first component is to critically self-reflect on our own characters. What biases do I have? Whom am I dismissing? And that other-oriented stance asks, what is it about this person in front of me that makes them special or unique? These questions just help take off the blinders and connect our intellectual knowledge of culture to an emotional and relational approach. This then leads to the second component, which is to focus on building mutual partnerships and respect. This partnership generally wants to understand the other's point of view, which is huge, because this allows people to voice their stories, their thoughts and opinions, because no one person is the expert on culture. Rather, we openly acknowledge our limitations and don't make foreordained assumptions. This way, nobody's story gets dismissed or left feeling inferior or unwanted. The third component is to dedicate ourselves to becoming a lifelong learner and being open to new information. You see, cultural humility is a lifetime goal of challenging ourselves to practice humility in a cultural context. I didn't learn cultural humility with my one encounter with a fake homeless man. Nor did I win the Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm accepting nominations. What I did was just start my journey. And that's what I urge you to do today. We need more cultural humility in our homes, our communities, among our professionals, our doctors, our counselors, our leaders of tomorrow. And we could start that journey by first digging deep and really examining ourselves. Second, we could focus on building those mutual partnerships and respect. And finally, we dedicate ourselves to becoming lifelong learners. So I want to leave you with a challenge that I hope you arise to. My challenge is to rise to the task of lowering your pride and adopting a mindset of cultural humility.
They say, be the change you wish to see in the world. Be the change. It's hard to be the change in a country that tells you you can be anything you want to be, while still reminding you every day of exactly who you are. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow speakers, and the amazing volunteers, I am an international student. I moved here 5 years ago from South Africa, and that's where my journey began. See, I did a year and a half of high school over here, and then I went back home, and I got my F1 visa, and I came back to America, because it's amazing, and why wouldn't I? So I came back to America, and when I came back to America, I started college, and that's truly where my journey began. You see, like all great tragedies, my story began with a girl. But she wasn't the reason it was a tragedy. See, I fell in love with her, and she fell in love with me. But there was something much stronger than our love. That was her mother. See, her mother wanted 5 things from me. And within the 3 years that I dated her, not her mother, the girl, I managed to attain 4 out of those 5 things. See, first, my grades came in, and they were looking great. I started winning awards for my volunteer service, awards for my student success. Shortly after, I received my license, which is kind of tricky since I drive on the right side of the road, which is where I'm from. Shortly after that, I got a car. 3 years of my life I spent working, sometimes 2 jobs in the summer. To this day, I have had a job every semester of my year at college. And after those 3 years, I finally bought myself a car. I bought myself a really bad 2005 Altima with a bunch of problems. In fact, this morning, I woke up to my car sitting on my front lawn because somebody had hit me. But it didn't matter. None of this matters, because I had 4 out of the 5 things that her mother wanted. 4 out of the 5 things, I was ready. Sadly, the 5th thing she wanted from me was she wanted me to be a citizen of this country. She wanted me to not be an immigrant. I am an international student, and like all great tragedies, I fell in love. But not with a girl. I fell in love with a country. I fell in love with America. See, no matter where I've been, no matter what I've done, no matter who I've talked to, there's something I've learned from this country. There's something that this country has taught me that I've not found anywhere else. This country taught me how to dream. And I've dreamt. And I've continued dreaming until this day. But much like this countdown right in front of me, there's a countdown above my head. I'm a senior, and this is my last year here at UNT before I have to go back home. I could either find a job that is willing to hire me and go through the long process of hiring an international student, or I could get married, and I'm accepting applications on both those. But unfortunately, like all major tragedies, there's loss. See, I left my home country. I left everyone, and I left everything, even a love, for a shot at a better education, at a better life, And what I found was much more. So the last 5 years I've been here, I've done it all again. I've done everything again. I have friends. I have family. Not a love. Soon. Hopefully she'll marry me. But I've done it all again. See, I'm not afraid to leave. I'm not afraid to leave and go back home, because I know I have friends and family back home. But I'm afraid to leave everything I've spent building here, everything I've spent doing on my own, by myself, really growing up, 17 years old to 22 years old. Some of the most crucial years of my life I've spent in this great country. See, sometimes it's easier to see our stories as a tragedy. But my life is not a tragedy. See, I don't ask for special treatment. I don't want any special treatment. I don't want to come here and take jobs from everyone. See, all I ask is to be like the rest. A chance to be like everybody else. A chance to try my hardest. But sometimes, even when our lives seem like tragedies, it's up to us to really change that around. See, they say, be the change you want to see in the world. Be the change. See, ladies and gentlemen, change isn't coming. Change is going to be knocking at your door 2 weeks from now, 1 week from now, or even tomorrow. Be the change you wish to see in the world, and be that in Scotland, Italy, South Africa, or even here in America. Be the change, because change isn't coming. Change is here. I am change. The more important question is, are you?
I am. I'm a part of the change because I'm trying to adopt a mindset of cultural humility, though I don't have it all together.
I don't have it all together.
And by acknowledging we don't have it all together,
We'll be change.
thank you.
Thank you.